Hi, and thanks for watching another instructional video for CSCI 1300. In this video, we're going to be talking about a linear search on an array of elements. So how do we continuously search until we find some element at some array and return its index when we find it? Well, what we could do is say we have an array of some size, and here we have an integer array called A, which has a capacity of 10 elements. It's going to be randomly filled through another function with values ranging between 1 and 5. And we have another helper function here to print the contents after we run the code. So in order to do this, we're going to have some value to look for. So we're looking for something along the way. The next thing we'll need some kind of a loop and probably some kind of an iterative value. In this example, I'm going to try using a while loop. So I'm going to declare an I variable here, and I'm also going to declare a Boolean for whether I found what I was looking for or not. And I'm going to say while I is less than capacity, which is what would get me to the end. And on top of that, I also want to make sure that found is still false. So the moment that we find the element, we should be able to change the value of the Boolean, flip it to true, and then we would no longer run our loop any more times than necessary. So let's see here. What I want to do is I want to do an if check and maybe do something like an else if that doesn't happen. So let's see here. If the search value is the same as what is stored at A of I, then I will set found to true. And if this does not happen, it's not found, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to index I and just keep going. Okay, and if I set found here to true, so say we find an element in the array that matches the search value, then we would set this to true, go out of the scope of the if-else block, and then start the loop over again. The loop would check to see whether this is still false, and it wouldn't be because we reassigned a value, so the whole loop would terminate. And at this point, we probably need to print out what we found. Search val will be found at index, and then what we're going to do is we're going to pass the I variable here into our print statement. So we're saying that we found this value at this index when we were searching. So let's go ahead and run the code and see what we get. So here we're printing the contents of the array. These are all randomly generated numbers between 1 and 5. And notice that the first time that we find 3, which is the search value, occurs at index 1. Now 3 is actually repeated at least twice. It looks like it's repeated 3 times in a row. So what we're doing is we're returning the first instance of that found value. We found that at index 1. So just to recap, in order to do this, we need to have some value to search for. We need to loop through an array, and as long as we haven't found our element yet, we're going to continuously keep looping and checking. But if we check and the element at that location is that value that we're searching for, then we should stop the process and print what index or return what index we found that element at, if that makes sense. So that's all I have on doing a linear search in an array. Thanks for watching and happy coding.